Welcome, friends. So good to see all of you here. This is the inaugural kickoff of our Uplifting Voices Speaker Series. We're just so gratified to have each and every one of you here. Now, I know some of you are probably wondering, who is Ancient Cedars and Move the World 2.0 and Humanity Illumined with Love? We are part of a global movement dedicated to building communities rooted in love, understanding and recognition of our shared humanity. By drawing on the spiritual wisdom of Black and Indigenous communities, long overlooked but vital in these times, we nurture spaces that uplift all, regardless of faith, race, or nation. Guided by the teachings of the Baha'i Faith and the Universal House of Justice, we honor ancestral knowledge from diverse communities as a transformative force for unity and healing. Local groups like Ancient Cedars, Humanity Illumined with Love, and To Move the World 2.0 invite you to join these sacred gatherings, embracing the collective potential to better our world. As Baha'u'llah teaches, the betterment of the world can be accomplished through pure and goodly deeds. We're going to start by recognizing our ancestors. The executive director of the new Black Arts West.
Please welcome Nana Kabibi Monet.
How is everybody doing today? We are so blessed to have another day to say we are blessed. My name is Kibibi Monet, and what I've been honored and asked to do is to welcome you all and to also introduce you to something we do when we open historical events such as now. There's an old ancient ritual where you may have seen people that in the movies, or you may have seen them live, pouring libations. Libations to me, back when I learned about libations, was us celebrating something. I didn't know what exactly it was, but we were celebrating something. And it had something to do with our ancestors. Our ancestors, to me, were what? Hatshepsut, Nzinga, Mansa Musa, maybe. And it was like, well, what does that have to do with me? Well, when you pour libations for the ancestors, you're pouring libation for your family. What I didn't understand was that that's what libations is. It's bringing in our family. You know, when you think of someone, you're bringing them there. When you say, wow, such and such would really like to be seeing this or what have you, you're bringing them there. And that's what libation is about. It's about welcoming our relatives to enjoy the celebration of life with us. No, we may not see them, but we can feel them. We know when they're present, you know. So once I found out it wasn't celebrating someone I didn't know anything about, when I took on that this is my family that I'm saying, come on, you may have crossed over to another plane, but I can welcome you to party with me or to share in the things that I'm doing. So this is a liquid. This happens to be water. But during libation, it's usually done, at least back in Africa, with wine or something holy, something, you know, that really connects you to the Creator. If you believe that life is everlasting, you're still bringing them into the room when you say their name and you honor them. So this is what I'm going to do. We're calling on our ancestors to join us in this celebration of life. When I say Ashe, I want you to say Ashe after me, okay? Pouring a libation for your father and mother who rest in the valley of the departed, God will witness your action and accept it. Do not forget this, because even when you are away from home, for as you do for parents, your children will do likewise for you. We pour libation in remembrance and honor of the ancestors, and we reaffirm our linkage with them. We commit to their legacy, for it is they who through their love, labor, and struggle laid the foundation for us, pushed our lives and histories forward, and gave us basic principles by which we could live our lives in strength and dignity, in brotherhood and sisterhood, in freedom and with confidence in the future. We call upon our ancestors, both far and near, fathers of our fathers, mothers of our mothers, to bear witness to our efforts here today, and by their example to continue to inspire us toward the teaching of Ma'at: truth, justice, harmony, balance, order in our relationship with the world and each other. Ashe. We pour libation to bring into our midst their Africanic spirit, radiating their great wisdom, courage, dedication, and unyielding commitment to victory of harmony over disharmony. Ashe. It is in honor of our Creator, our ancestors, our children, and their children to come after us that we pour libation. For the Creator and the various manifestations of the Creator Spirit, we pour libation. Ashe. For our esteemed ancestors who laid the foundation for human civilization and also provided the wisdom by which we live and the models by which our lives are guided, we pour libation. For our ancestors, our esteemed ancestors, who suffered the atrocities and horrors of our Ma'afa, of the Middle Passage and the slave plantations, for those who perished and for those who suffered unimaginable indignation, brutality, and pain, and yet demonstrated the victorious power of the Spirit against adversity, by maintaining their human dignity no matter the cost. We pour libation. Ashe. For all of our esteemed ancestors who surely represented the very best that human spirit could provide, give the world, and whose courage and spirit will live eternally in our hearts and souls, for them and their honor, we pour libation. Ashe. And finally, for our children and their children and future generations to come, that they too, in their time, will vindicate truth and justice from all adversities and continue to imprint upon the world the greatest virtues of humanity. We pour libation. Ashe. May we ever have eyes to see, ears that hear, hearts that love, and hands that help each other. If you really believe that your loved ones really never ever leave you, that you can call on the memory of them and they will join you, you will say, Ashe, 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 Ashe. It is done. Ashe, 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 and Hotep.
Please welcome Stan Brown.
Thank you, Cleve. Will everyone please rise for the Black National Anthem?
lift every voice and sing till earth, heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies resound the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. March on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn has died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughter, out from the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk of the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand. True to our God, true to our God, true to our native land, true to our native land.
Ashe.
You may be seated. Those were students from Oakwood University, a seven-day Adventist college in Huntsville, Alabama. The name of that piece is Lift Every Voice and Sing. It was written by James Weldon Johnson, who from the first bullet you can see was quite a Renaissance man. Besides everything that you see there, he also wrote with his brother and Bob Cole some musicals for Broadway and the London stage that were quite successful. But he wrote this as a poem in his role as an educator. He was the principal of the Stanton School in Jacksonville, Florida. And in 1900, for Abraham Lincoln's birthday celebration, they were going to have an assembly with a special guest in Booker T. Washington. So Johnson wanted to do something special, so he wrote a poem. He wrote the poem, the students presented the poem at the assembly. He thought they did a good job, and he said so, and they thought that that was that. Well, the students didn't forget the poem. They thought it was an amazing poem. And they took it to their homes, to their churches. Some of them went off to other schools. They took it to other schools. And it started spreading around the South. Booker T. Washington is a special guest who was the featured speaker at the assembly. He's best known for being the founder and president of Tuskegee Institute, now University, in Tuskegee, Alabama. One of the interesting things was that he partnered with Julius Rosenwald, who was the president of Sears Roebuck, and together they provided funding for over 5,000 public schools in the South. It was difficult for African Americans to get an education in the South in the first half of the 20th century. And these schools were some of the only schools that were available, including people like Maya Angelou and John Lewis. They went to Rosenwald schools. It spread around the South for 5 years as a poem, and then James Weldon Johnson gave it to his brother John and said, "Hey, can you put this to music?" Now, John was a musical prodigy, and that's where the melody came from. And that's who James, John, and Bob Cole worked together on some of these musicals that were quite successful, both in England and in New York. During World War I, the migration, African Americans started migrating out of the South prior to that, but during World War I, there was a massive migration because the industry in the North needed the workers. Well, as they migrated to Boston, to New York, to Detroit, to Washington, D.C., to Cleveland, to Chicago, and out west as well, they took the song with them. So by 1919, it had spread all over the country, and the NAACP designated it at that time as the Negro National Anthem, and we now call it the Black National Anthem. Now, the interesting thing about this date, 1919, is that this is 12 years before the Star Spangled Banner became the national anthem. So it actually predates it. So one more person I want to talk about, Augusta Savage. She was an artist during the Harlem Renaissance. She was born about 20 years after the Johnson brothers and about 40 miles south of Jacksonville, Florida. And from an early age, she would take mud, clay, anything she could get her hands on and just shape it into farm animals and things. She was very talented and won just about every art contest within 50 miles of her hometown. In 1920, she was convinced that she should develop her talent more. So she went to New York, enrolled in Cooper Union College, and finished the 4-year program in 3 years. When she came out in 1923, it was the middle of the Harlem Renaissance. She immediately got commissions to do busts of W.E.B. Du Bois and Marcus Garvey. Later on, she did one of James Weldon Johnson. She became director of the Harlem Community Arts Center, and that's when she made this quote up here. "I've created nothing really beautiful, really lasting, but if I can inspire one of these youngsters to develop the talent I know they possess, then my monument will be in their work." Well, one of those youngsters she was talking about was a guy named Jacob Lawrence, who spent a lot of time at the University of Washington. In 1937, she took a 2-year leave of absence from the Harlem Community Arts Center because she was given a commission to do a sculpture for the 1939 New York World's Fair. They asked her to do something that was a tribute to African American music. She decided to pay homage to the Black National Anthem and called the piece "Lift Every Voice and Sing." Well, the fair committee took one look at the sculpture and changed the name to the harp. The reason they changed it to the harp was because this is what it looked like. Now, this was 16 feet high. It was the most popular piece of art at the fair and the most photographed piece of art at the fair.
Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven rings, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listing skies. Let it resound loud as a rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let us march on till victory is won.
I've highlighted some of the things that really stand out for me. This verse, to me, is a celebratory verse. So when you look at the singers, the strings, they're standing up straight, they're standing up tall. Looks like they're singing their hearts out. And when you look at the words that are related to it, harmonies of liberty, rejoicing rise, loud as the rolling sea, faith that the dark past has taught us, and hope that the present has brought us. You know, realize this was written 35 years after the Civil War, 35 years after the passage of the ratification of the 13th Amendment. They were looking at this as a new hope for African Americans in the United States. Our new day begun, but it's not over yet, so march on till victory is done.
Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the day when our hopes unborn had died. Yet, with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed? We have come over a way that which tears have been watered. We have come, trotting the path through the blood of the slaughtered, out from a gloomy past, till now we stand at last where the white gleam of our bright star is cast.
Think about the words, think about the sculpture, think about where these words are represented in the sculpture. So when you look at the beginning, days when hope unborn had died, that's pretty sad. I think that represents slavery. I think over the way with tears that have been watered through the blood of the slaughtered, that could be talking about the Civil War, could be talking about lynchings, which were quite prevalent back then. It could be talking about massacres that were happening in cities all over the country. This is 20 years before Tulsa, but it's 14 months after a similar incident in Wilmington, North Carolina. So it's probably all of the above. Then it says, from the gloomy past, now we stand at last. So I think he was on his knees at the beginning of this verse, and now he's starting to stand up.
God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray, lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land.
I've highlighted every mention of the word God that's in this verse. And I think that this verse is an attribution to God. Somebody mentioned earlier the arm and the hand on the harp. I think that represents the hand of God and is holding everything up. So I think that that part of the sculpture represents this verse. So when I read the poem, when I hear the song, when I think of the sculpture, I think, wow, Augusta Savage nailed it. I think she took a poem and made a three-dimensional object out of it. I think she did a masterful job. This is a quote from last year from the BBC. It made me think of Lift Every Voice and Sing from a worldwide perspective. Though it might not have been his goal, James Weldon Johnson's Lift Every Voice and Sing has become an anthem of hope for not only African Americans, but marginalized people around the world. Its message endures and will continue to live on for as long as we sing. Now, when I read that, I thought, in the poem, there is no ethnicity or race actually mentioned, and there's no religion actually mentioned. So then I started thinking around the world, and I said, yeah, not only is this an inspirational message for African Americans, but also here in the United States for Native Americans, for Hispanic Americans, in Canada for First Nations, in Australia for Aborigines, in Israel for Palestinian Israelis, in Iran for Baha'is, in China for Uyghurs. And I just talked to some friends of mine for Myanmar, and they looked at it and they said, yeah, this applies to everyone in Myanmar that's fighting for democracy. So it makes you, at least it made me think of it from a worldwide perspective. And I said, wow. Robert Sims, stand up for a minute. Robert and I have done this presentation a number of times. And whenever we give it, the very first question when we start our Q&A session is, where is that sculpture now? At the end of the fair, you got this 16-foot sculpture. They said, hey, lady, what do you want us to do with this sculpture? She's living in a small apartment in New York. So just like a lot of the large art objects of the fair, it was destroyed. The way I look at it, to make it a little less painful, is I look at it as if it were an ice sculpture that lasted for 2 years, then it got warm and it just melted away. Thank you, Kabibi. Thank you for your attention.
Please welcome Mashinga Ababu. Dr. Joye Hardiman is a gifted storyteller, educator, a Fulbright scholar, and cultural activist. She served as director of Evergreen State College, Tacoma from 1989 to 2007, and is a founding member of the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations. Dr. Hardiman has researched Africana history, culture, and spirituality. In places such as Egypt, Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, Mali, Gambia, Ghana, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Cameroon, South Africa, India, Yucatan, Trinidad, Brazil, Ecuador, Panama, and Cuba. Welcome our inaugural speaker, Dr. Joye Hardiman.
How you doing, family? All right. I'm so glad to be here. What I'm going to do today is much more of a testimony than a presentation, because the theme is praying unceasingly. And Cleve and I came up with this theme after we were talking on the phone, and I was having a conversation about one of my later. Well, you'll find out in the presentation. I have had a series of hospitalizations. So, and during one of my hospitalizations, I was talking with one of the nurses, and she was Kenyan. And Kenyans always want to know what your religion is. And then whatever you say depends on how good your service is. You know, I mean, I learned that, right? I learned that. So now I just say I'm a Christian. But we were talking, and I was explaining to her that she said, to whom do you pray? And I said, I pray to my ancestors. But for me, my ancestors entail the sun, the moon, the rain. They include Buddha. They include Jesus. They include Jehovah. They include marooned people who ran off to the mountains in order to find freedom. They include my mother and my father. For me, my ancestors embodied the totality of the universe. And so that is where I pray. That is what I recognize. And I was trying to explain that to her, and she wasn't sure she kind of was understanding. So about 5 minutes later, all of a sudden, this chaplain walks into the room. And he says, I don't know how I got here. He said, I was pressing the elevator for 7, and I got up at 9, and the nurse said I needed to come and see you. And I think she was trying to pray for my soul. So I explained to the chaplain that I was going through a little bit of depression because I hadn't expected to be in the hospital this time. I had just gone to the doctor for something. He said, go to emergency. He said, up to the room. And so I was explaining to the chaplain, I said, being here at St. Joe's feels like I'm in this spaceship. You know, and I have to figure out how to make this spaceship work for me, because right now it feels like I'm in one of those grain things that you see in Chicago on the by the docks. You know, just empty kind of holes of things, and I'm not feeling terribly okay. And he said, well, what is it? He said, talk a little bit more. And I said, wait, I'm understanding. I'm saying, what's happening to me right now is that this is a microcosm. What's happening in my body is a microcosm of the macrocosm that is happening in the universe. And as the universe is, and the moon is waning and waxing, so is my body in terms of healing it. And so what I need to do in my mind is imagine that this is a spaceship, and that it is going to be taking me straight up, you know, to wellness and to light when I wake up in the morning. And he said, now you have it. And he said, but remember, pray unceasingly And then he looked at me and he winked and said, "To the ancestors." And so this is what this presentation is all about. It's a testimony of what happens when you pray to the ancestors, when you recognize your spiritual connection with the universe, when you recognize your spiritual connection with other human beings, when you recognize your spiritual connection with yourself. So, with your permission, I'll begin. Yeah? You want to go on a trip with me? All right. It's going to be a good trip. It's going to be a good trip. First of all, let me just say my name is Dr. Joye Hardiman. I am the daughter of Thelma and Flash Hardiman, and I am the mother of Selma Hardiman. I recently accepted the title of being a Jedi. For a while, I called myself a mentor. And then I looked into the history of mentor. Now, you need to check it out sometime, because mentors is not such a good thing to call yourself. In fact, the very first mentor killed his mentee in the, he did, it was a Greek, I can't remember his name, but he was a Greek guy, and he founded the Lyceum, the academy, and everybody, and so all the people sent their young boys to this academy to be taught by these old men. And the guy who had founded it actually ended up killing his charge and lying to the family about his continual relationship. So I thought, maybe I don't want to be a mentor. You know? So I think I started looking at other kinds of roles. And I came upon this, my dear friend, Dr. Bellows, who is an incredible scholar of Haitian revolution, and particularly the role of women and spirituality in the Haitian revolution. When I was talking with her yesterday, I said, "Dr. Bellows, what is a Jedi?" And she said, "A Jedi is someone who trains for life, who teaches from the inside out, and awakens one to their divine identity and destiny." Yeah, and I said, "Oh yeah, I do that." That's what I do. So I'm coming forth to you that you are now my first declaration of my Jedna identity at this Baha'i occasion, and so I'm so pleased. I'm also the artistic director of Ancestral Artworks. Ancestral Artworks is a production company that uses ancient wisdom to solve contemporary problems. All right. Yes. Now, my background is in applied ancient Egyptian studies. All right. And I put the applied in on purpose, very loudly, because it's not just, I believe, not just enough to know the theoretical, but you gotta apply it. It has to be able to be useful in life, otherwise why do it? If it doesn't help, I always tell my faculty, if you don't give the students something that will help them cross the street, then you need to stay home. You know, I mean, you just got to give them some stoplights, some rain gear, some whatever it is, so that they can move from point A to point B in their journey toward genius. And so I have been doing this work in terms of using ancient wisdoms in contemporary situations in my classrooms. I've taught classes in which we have taken ancient texts and seen how they can be used as guidebooks for contemporary governance, for contemporary interpersonal relationships. I've used, we've looked at ancient wisdoms. What did we learn from our mothers? The class I taught last year, one of the classes which I really liked, was a class in which we basically looked at artificial intelligence versus ancestral wisdom. And how could ancestral wisdom help us negotiate artificial intelligence? All right? How could it be a guideline? What did our grandmothers say? What did people tell us that would give us a lens by which we could become indigestible? to some of the hardware of AI. And students did amazing projects out of them, being able to use that in order to evoke Sankofa. Right, all right? So, like, those are the kind of classes I teach. I also have done, presentations with school boards and things like that of trying to get them to understand how to develop ancient wisdoms. One of the ancient wisdoms that our ancestors knew was the power of the little red schoolhouse. The one-room classroom with each one teach one, with working in collaboration. Our ancestors understood the power of the circle, which is critical if you're doing any kind of pedagogy, to have people be able to look at each other instead of at the backs of their heads, all right? Being able to be about relationship and not transaction. All right, and so those are the kind of things that I have done. And I also put myself through ancestral training and indigenous training. The ancient ancestors in Kemet had something called the Mystery School. And the Mystery School was a whole series of disciplines that one had to learn. One had to learn how to control one's thought, control one's actions, be free from resentment, right? Recognize that there's a spiritual order outside ourselves. Having power of being able to be taught and connect with the teacher, whether the teacher is human or the teacher is a bird flying across the sky, right? And the power to understand that we ourselves are teachers, we are in fact genius, and that we have a reciprocal nature with the world. And when we give the best to the world will give the best to us. And when I turned 60, I graduated myself from the Mystery School. I had a party, and I told everyone I now was ready to begin, and did not know what an amazing journey that was. I also, in terms of looking at ancient wisdoms and contemporary solutions and applying the wisdom and recognizing the wisdom of the ancestors, wrote a book. And the book is called The Resurrection of Truth, From the Chains of Falsehood. And now I wrote this book before Trump. I did not know that this was going to become a prophecy. All right? It amazes me. Because what this book talks about is that once upon a time, we lived in a world that was governed by Mayat. And Mayat means harmony and balance and reciprocity and stability. It was a natural world. The world did not begin in sin. That's just one version. But if you look at all the indigenous cultures, you understand the world began in harmony. And that people were not strangers. Everybody was somebody's auntie or uncle or tia or, no one was a stranger. Everyone was just somebody's mother, son, daughter on their way home. That's what happened when truth ruled the world. When truth ruled the world, things were not divided into either or. Things were seen as complementary dualities. And when truth ruled the world, there was no division between the spiritual and the material when truth ruled the world. But truth had a brother, and the brother's name was falsehood. And falsehood was very jealous of truth, and falsehood was very envious of truth. And falsehood wanted all the attention, and would have narcissistic temper tantrums because nobody was giving falsehood attention. So falsehood decided the only thing that they could do was to destroy truth. And so one day when truth was walking down the street, falsehood leaped out, grabbed truth's arm, manacled its arm, tied its leg, blinded his eye, and threw truth into a deep, 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 dark pit. And when truth got thrown into the pit, the world turned upside down and moaned and moaned in anticipation of the evil that was going to go over the land. And truth's followers put on their battle gear, and they came to conquer. And they turned language into a weapon. They problematized the other, and they created binaries. They divided the world into small, lonely places and into either or. So both and was replaced by black versus white, us versus them, rich versus poor, straight versus gay, old versus young, fat versus thin, Christians versus heathens, able versus disabled, light skin versus dark skin, good hair versus bad hair, love versus hated, wanted versus rejected, worthy versus unworthy, 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 unworthy. And people began to lock their doors, and so that the other could not come in, and their borders. And they locked their doors and they locked their hearts. And when they locked their hearts, they locked their minds. And when they locked their minds, they lost their souls. Fear and anger became dominant modalities. Pathology became a description. Everybody started trading their traumas. Trauma became generational. Money became God. Everything became commodified. White became right. Social media became the gospel. And the big lie ruled the land. All you have to do is look on social media, and all you can see is the big lie everywhere. We can see it in the White House. We can see it in the Supreme Court. We can see it in Congress. We can see it in the assault against our schools. We can see it in the assault against people. We can see everywhere the big lie permeating, and we can see people buying into it. But there are always resistors. All right? There you are. There you are. There you are. There you are. If you're here, you're in a resistor. You know, and then somebody also said they liked it like the raw sisters, right? But there were always resistors who know in their heart and know in their gut that the universe is upside down and things are out of balance, who know that something is wrong and that it is not our nature to hate, to diminish ourselves, to lock ourselves away, to be apathetic to the wants of our fellow human beings. They know it is not right, and so the resistors fought cultural erasure and anesthesia, and they called out for liberation, and they called out to the Creator and the ancestors, and they started to pray unceasingly. They prayed unceasingly. They just said, we know, no, we're not, no, you're not going to take us down. No, there's a better way. No, we're going to pray. We're going to ask for help, and we're not going to just ask, but we're going to also praise you. We're going to say, we ask for help because we know that we've been paid for. We know we've been paid for. And so we're both going to pray, and we're going to praise, and please. And so they prayed for invention and direction, and the ancestors responded. And the ancestors advised the resistors to stand up, to find like-minded people, to sponsor events like this, to study, strategize, and become unified. All right, and I could read you the whole book, but you always have to build in the comeback. So if you want a copy, yes, there will be some on sale afterwards. But the point is the book goes on to talk about it is not so easy it is one thing to find truth and try to bring truth back into our lives, but it is another thing to maintain it and sustain it. Because we all drank the Kool-Aid. I mean, most of us didn't do it on purpose, but we all drank the Kool-Aid. So that whole process of being wrapped in negative emotions and notions of scarcity and notions of individuality and stuff like that, that's going to take a while to unwrap that, to understand the importance of community, to understand that we live in abundance, and to understand that if in fact we're going to embrace it, then we have to go deep in our guts and pull out all of those other kind of things that are holding us back from being ourselves, from making us not believe in prayer, from making us be disconnected from the ancestors. So the book lays out some strategies about how you keep truth back in the world, both taken from the native indigenous culture, taken from the African culture, and taken from my own experience, and just ends up a call of action of people embracing the mantle and making a decision to reject falsehood whenever and however you see it, and march into eternity with generations behind us. Okay? So I wrote that book. Yeah. But that's not what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk to you about is about what happens when you follow the book, when you bring truth back. What I want to talk to you about is the benefits of, and the results of what happens when you have continuous prayer. All right, and so I made a film, because that's one of the things I do. And I want to just show you this film. And this film is about my experience of the last 3 months. I am standing in front of you, a walking miracle. Yeah. Right, yeah. Oh, and I didn't, and if you're from Tacoma, can you just indicate if you're either a Tacoma student or a Tacoma in the family? Can you indicate? Your hand raised. All right, okay. Got to acknowledge family. So family in the house knows kind of what happened to me over the last 3 months. But I made a film about it because it has to do with the lessons I learned from, just a really short to give you some idea. I went to the Philippines in order to understand more about indigenous Filipino culture, and my appendix burst. And then when my appendix burst, they went in to fix it, and they found out I had cancer. So then they had to take out my colon. And then after they did that, because I had so much bile and stuff all running around me, I got pneumonia. And then I got sepsis because I was doing irregular things. And then I got E. coli because of the infection. And then I got shingles. Right. And so, but I'm standing here. I'm standing here. And it was because the ancestors had my back, and because I prayed unceasingly, and the netters, the Creator, all were walking with me. So this is a little story of my journey. Okay, you want to show it, please? Just recently, I saw a video on YouTube, and it was a sports video, and what it was this man was running back. He was into the end zone. He was going to catch the ball in the end zone, and the ball came, and he dropped the ball, and he fumbled it, and everybody went, "Oh God, what's going on?" But he picked it, but he got it, and he decided to run, and he decided he was going to run with it. he was number 20, and there were two guys on either side, number 13 and number 21. And all of a sudden, you could see between the two of them that they knew that he was going to go for it, that he was going to go for the touchdown. And they made that decision that they were going to make sure that he did that. And so you could just see them running. And they were running, their feet were running in line, and because just as they almost got to the touchdown, somebody came up and number 21 just hit them, blocked them out of the way, just get out of the way. We're people with a mission, we're people with determination. And I thought about that, and I thought about, how that was a perfect metaphor for my experience that I had this summer that started in the Philippines and ended up in here now in Tacoma, Washington. And I want to share that touchdown kind of experience and why that is so important to me and what I'm understanding about the unceasing nature of prayer, the transformational power of intention and manifestation and praise and gratitude and collaboration and cooperation and teamwork, and having a commitment to the positive of having the attitude of gratitude, because all of those same experiences over the last 3 months, and I want to share them with you. I was in Manila I had been invited there by one of my next gens, Diana Davis, who wanted me to come and witness her homecoming. And so I came there and spent time with her family and spent time with the dance troupe that her father had been the champion of for 40 years and what troupe was being honored at that moment in the Philippines. That was the occasion we were coming there, and it was really quite marvelous. But halfway through it, I started to get a pain. I started to get a pain in my stomach, and so we and one night I said, take him to the hospital. We went to the hospital, and the guy said, it's gastritis or something, but come back in 2 days, because I was supposed to be leaving for the States in 2 days, but we didn't know if I could fly with this gastritis. So we said, okay, cool. And it was that night we went back, and the next morning, there was a woman who came in, to clean the place to make sure everything was in order. And she saw that I was in a great deal of pain. And so she said she could help, that she was part of a faith community that believed in the power of prayer, that believed in the power of Jesus and Christ in order to heal people, and also the power of eating, of certain kind of nutritional things that you needed to eat and stuff like that. And she offered to help me, and she thought I needed more reinforcements. And so they took me to what looked like a nunnery. They prayed over me. They had service. People from the community came dressed in white, all sat around, prayed for me. They gave me, things to eat for my stomach. They did a psychic healing and a psychic reading to if I had anything negative or energy, that should be gone. And while it made the pain bearable, it did not take it away. So we decided we had to go to the hospital anyway before I left. So we left and we went to the hospital, and we waited the longest time for the doctor. And we were going to leave. We were going to go down to the emergency room and just sit there for hours. And this doctor finally walked down the hall, and we sat in the room.
When I listened to your lungs, I was able to hear some sounds from your lungs, which may be the reason why you're a little short of breath. Your heart is beating a little fast also. Okay, that's why I asked you if you have had existing heart conditions, and which can explain those. With your situation now, I cannot allow you to travel, okay? A long haul, even a short distance air travel, you're not fit for it, okay? Because something might happen to you, okay? My suggestion is I want you to proceed to the emergency room downstairs. You need an emergency CT scan done to see what's going on inside. You also need a full evaluation of your lungs and your heart. because I cannot allow you to go cold in a situation like this.
And he looked at me and I told me his story and he poked my stomach and I went, ow. And he said, you go to emergency right now. That was at 3 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, I was in surgery.
What we find out, but if it's just appendicitis, we just clean you up, take out that pesky appendix, and we'll see if we can feed you already, but we'll take it one piece at a time.
What happened when they went in to fix the appendix, because my appendix had burst and and there were fluids and stuff like that were kind of like running around. And after they looked into the fluids, they saw that I had cancer in my colon. And so they took out half of my colon. So I wake up and they say, you had cancer, but it's gone. And it's like, what can't, a big blessing, number one. If I hadn't had the appendix burst, they would not found the cancer, and the cancer could have grown as it was. It was just a stage 2, but it would have been undetected. So it was a blessing to be able to have the appendix so they could find the cancer.
Good morning, everybody. I'm here with Mama Joy, okay? And we have been taking care of her. We got the nasty thing out of her body, and we continue to take care of her, okay? So we want a lot of blessings for Mama Joy.
But then the cancer, the bile from the appendix gave me pneumonia. And then, so I had to have pneumonia, and that did something weird to my kidneys. So I had to have whole bunch of IVs, and that did something strange to my lungs. So my breathing was irregular. And I had a nursing team, a hospital team for each of these. I had 7 teams of at least 4 people, because in the Philippines they do everything in groups. I had a team on my surgery, a team on my lungs, a team on my kidney, a team. Oh, I got aphis, and I got pneumonia, E. coli, and aphis. Aphis, and then I got shingles. But that was the next miracle. I got shingles without the pain. It freaked me out because when they told me I had shingles and they put me in isolation, I had all these people who I knew who had shingles, and they said it was the most horrible thing in the world in terms of the pain. So I was laying there in bed anticipating the pain, just waiting and waiting for the pain to come from the shingles. And it never came. I got the blisters, but not the pain. So I'm sitting there going, whoa, what is going on? I mean, I'm just looking at these blessings about how, I was dragged. I was in the hospital. Yeah, they couldn't find my veins because I have dancing veins. So they have to have all these people come and shoot me 87 times. But I was in the Philippines that had some of the best medical care in the world. That's what they train. They export health professionals. So the people that were dealing with me were top drawer. The surgeon the guy who did my surgery, another miracle. It turns out was the president of the Filipino Surgeons Association. And he had a residency at the hospital, and he just happened to be on the floor. And when he saw the severity of my case, he said, I'll take that one. I'm getting all these blessings. I get blessed by from people who have ancestral roots within the Philippine culture, traditions, and herbal kind of understanding. So I'm getting the naturalistic, and then I get the very best allopath, the very best medicals. Another miracle that happened was I had gotten airplane insurance because I wasn't going to get it. I don't want to pay $200 extra. I'm not going to lose my suitcase. But I wasn't until spent a week trying to get Blue Cross Blue Shield
to pick up the bill, and they never did. In fact, they never really answered the phone. That we looked and discovered that my travel insurance would cover all of my medical expenses. So another miracle. So $43,000 was covered by Alliance Insurance. Only did that happen, I got transported back home first class with a nurse from Singapore who, as a traveling nurse, who made sure that me and my coloscopy bag were able to navigate, internationally, and delivered me at my friend's house, Marcia Arunga, and she and her family took care of me for 3 months after I got back to the States. And what a miracle that was. It had been so family-like in the Philippines. Because people, as I said, not only move in groups, but they do everything in family. And so I was feeling a little sad because I thought, well, I'm going to come home and I'm going to be in my house and I'm going to be kind of alone, healing, but I'll be okay. I'll figure out what's going on. And not to have that, not to have an individual experience, but to be taken in and embraced by family and listen to the siblings laugh with each other and tease each other. And Emerald, the dog who came to check on me, just felt like that healing was okay. And then, but it just kept continuing. It kept continuing. Somehow I ended up getting some home care people. I don't know. I don't even remember signing it. But all of a sudden, these people appeared to change my Band-Aids once in a while and to do physical therapy. And I had an amazing team of support people who drive me to all the doctors' places and stuff like that. And one of my students who became a friend, it turned out her boyfriend was a medical specialist. And so he came over and would change my Band-Aids for me. The doctor who, when I got back here, I went to my doctor. They wanted to check and make sure all the cancer was gone because they weren't sure if it was all gone. So they sent me to the cancer specialist. And the cancer specialist was housed on the Puyallup Indian land and was the Salish integrated cancer treatment. So I not only was it required for me to see an oncologist, a doctor, but I also had to see a naturopath who could help me prepare my body for what the oncologist was doing. And they also had rituals and sweats and all sorts of other things for the Puyallup. And I end up a full circle with the ancestors, but the ancestors of the land that I was coming to. And it was so, oh, right, you're coming back to the Northwest, and we, the ancestors here, welcome you and take care of you. So I was just blessed. So I wanted to tell people that because I wanted people to understand that, one, having an attitude of gratitude works. I mean, being able to see, to affirm, to have every day, I just gave thanks. I said, yes, this is going on. This is horrible. This is dark. I'm hurt. It could be so much worse. And I've got some help. And so, and even when I tried to get depressed, I couldn't because I've been working all my life on seeing assets rather than deficits. And all my life, I've been working on trying to take something and make lemonade out of lemons. And so why would I stop now, said my body and my mind and my soul. It's like my body was determined that it was going to, come through this. And the doctors were all amazed. My surgeons in Manila and my surgeons here are amazed that as an 80-year-old woman, I have healed quickly and that my body is in total collaboration of putting forth its manifestations. So the three things that I learned and I wanted to share from this experience is, one, the importance of the attitude of gratitude. Second, the importance of having a 21 and a 23 on your team. Going back to that, the guy running for the touchdown, but not being able to make it except for his blockers on his either side. And so it's so important to have blockers. It's so important to spend our time working on our relational skills and not on our transactional skills. Understand the power of having a supportive team that has your back, being grateful for being able to have an attitude, being grateful for being able to have a community, for some blockers. And also being grateful for having the patience to just wait for it, to know it's going to come. It's just to, sometimes at night, I would just go, okay, I know this is not fun today, but tomorrow I'm going to wait for it because tomorrow something's going to happen. I'm going to get some news. Something's going to happen that's going to shift the premise of that day, because that's the nature of life. That's the nature of energy. That's the nature of locking into that kind of rhythmic kind of thing. For me, I just had an experience in the transforming power of unceasing prayer, of unceasing gratitude, of unceasing praise. So that's what I want to say.
So, Mom, thank you for all your help and service. Can I?
We're glad to help.
We liked keeping this one around.
Yeah, she has a mission.
Shay and Hotep.
So that was my journey. I had a friend that used to say, what is the reward for good work? And then the answer was, anybody know? More work. And I'd have to say, what is the reward for good work? Blessings. Abundant blessings. And to know that there are portions that I look at when I scroll through the phone and I just look at what's happening in the world and I think about how even my life I've restricted. I don't like try getting nice. People are crazy, and fear to go to stores because it's just you just see so much kind of humanity in distress that I have to remind myself, that life cycles. So that things rise and falls, and I have to remember that after every sunset, there is a sun against sunrise. And I have to remember that, and I have to remember to stop whining. I have to say, sometimes when I was going through that, I was in the hospital for 3.5 weeks. When I was going through that, sometimes the pain was like really hard, and it was scary. My daughter came over, and my friend Patricia and Nana also that came over. I was all alone in a country with language I didn't speak, and to have people advocate for me and to go in to have appendix and then find out the cancer. I can say I'm the shortest cancer survivor. I had it to 2 yeah. But another thing that I have that when the thing got really bad and I would think about it, I have to go back to my ancestors. And I have to say, my ancestors lived through torture. They lived through unbearable pain. They lived through people doing the most inhumane and horrible things for their body repeatedly, day after day, where they didn't know, but somehow they didn't give up. Somehow they still come some way, to make a way out of no way. And if they could do it, I can certainly get over, this kink. I could get over this. I could become friends with my body. I can become collaborate with my body. We can all get into there and make this work. And when you're connected with the spirit, then you can do that. You can move to the physical plane into the spiritual plane, into the cognitive plane, and to other kinds of planes. Because we are miracles. We are human in the process of becoming. Right? That's what a being is. Being is the gerund. A gerund needs processing. It's not a noun. We are not there yet. And we all have things to do. And that's what I felt that the ancestors were saying to me. It's not your time. We have things to do. And then I go home and my beautiful community of Tacoma gets a park named after me. The experience is half of restoring hack which is in ruins and make it more beautiful before. So now when you Google the wedge in Tacoma, you'll say Dr. Joye Hardiman Harf. But if you go to that same land at the library at the Northwest Room, the hilltop was originally was settled by black people who bought the land, and on the half it's called Nigger Hill. So Nigger Hill is now Dr. Joy part of the crop. As the book indicates, harmony, reciprocity is the natural order, and he can return to it if we embrace our Mother Earth and we embrace our internal divinity. So that's all I want to say.
So that engineer is the tire right. I'm the founder of my agency. There's not CrossFit and also my kids. And I've had the pleasure of going to the summer solstice, right? Yeah. And so we, we're like teen sisters during that wonderful experience. And we're about relationships, not about transactions. And so when she came in today, she asked me if I was going to sing, and I said I did well. But culturally, for me as my studies som fast folklaki, for kilometer, yeah. So it was really nice to see all those relatives, eh? It was really nice to see all the relatives up here and know that even in the United States, some of the leading hospitals are just filled with folk kids. You know, it's like one of our big professions is dentistry around the world, and so I could identify with everything she was saying. So the other thing about being in a relationship is that she asked you about singing, and one thing I love about these gatherings is that we're diverse. So the diversity that I'm bringing is from our culture. When you have someone who is a speaker and they share powerful messages. In our culture, what balance, first thing that is in Chan people, is you never let someone just let a speaker, but the words just be there. The other side, balance side, comes up and they share. And in that sharing, they bring the balance. And what we say, what I'm going to do is hold up to you and hold up their words. So what I want to do to hold up your words and hold you up and bring Alice to this is to sing the song that you want me to sing for you. I think it's so interesting too that, this is about praying as a sea singer. And so the song that I got comes from the tradition of a people here, in the Northwest and this area of the Muckleshoots and the Haylifts and all of those folks. They have a religion called Smokehouse or something that was called the Sion. And in that tradition, people get gifted songs. And those songs are considered a medicine. So the song is really important to me because for one thing, our languages were stolen from us. But the Baha'is in Canada, they translated a Baha'i prayer into Sichuan Manother's language. The words to this Baha'i prayer, oh God, guide me, protect me. If I could be a shining star, brilliant lamp is a shining star, thou art mighty and powerful. Is it sure to light out of Baha? So those words in Chimalpa, which is the language of the Xinjiang people, and on Kiliweo, that's what I'm marrying my grandson. Well, the language is called Shinaunik, and the words in Chimalpa are Onaguari. I know Onaguari is this kind of like "Oh Father," but this particular way of saying "Oh Father," you're talking about your heavenly Father. Onaguari, Danki, Hushandokiti, Shashigual Shimalshi. Hadden ze mooi te behouden. Jong dalfsted. Nieuws. Wie did
On a body, on a body, on a body, on a body. Daiki, Wu Shang Dang Di, Sha Shu Ba Shang, Da Xi, I Shu Ba. Be lost. nagwadi, oh nagwadi. Thank you, some doctor, sa subaw, some lao si, alis korban, biya kusi. Do not get the not again. Oh, nagwadi. Oh, nagwadi. Oh, nagwadi. Oh, nagwadi. Take ye, nation walking, George world show. Mahushi as boyden, Yahoshi, noon good, let's get the dawn again. Oh, nagwadi, oh, nagwadi, oh, nagwadi, oh, nagwadi. Thank you, some nagwadi, short as the bell, some lousy, and disappointment, be out see. Noon good, let's get deal not again. Oh, nagwadi, way!
This is a eighth generation blanket. For a long time, we always got Pendleton blankets from the Pendleton Wool Company. A man named Willie Gong decided that he needed to start producing our own blankets. So he created eighth generation, and he would seek out native artists to come up with the designs, and then he have these blankets made. So they're totally 100% native. And the business is owned by Native people, so we don't really rely on Pendleton blankets anymore. And so this, so this blanket is called Walking Beauty. The artist is African American and Malcolm Walker. One of the things that we do, we wrap people in blankets to honor them, show them our love, be relational, and that we're family and community. So to move the world, Ancient Cedars at Humanity Illumined with Love would like to wrap you in this blanket. I wanted to recognize too. So, Akuye and I are sisters. And even this event wouldn't be happening without her support and our love and support of each other. She introduced me to Dr. Hardiman. And so when Cleven brought this idea to have her come speak, Ancient Cedars and Humanity Illumined with Love, and Two of the Road jumped right behind it to come here and support this. And so, this group, the Ancient Cedars, Humanity Illumined with Love, Two of the World. We are those resistors, and we do believe in praying unceasingly, and we hold activities in community at breast level to support every one of the actions you said we need to be involved in, and the biggest one bringing forward the truth. And the first truth is that we are of the Creator, and that we have strong relations with Creator. And it's the soul connection that relationships are about, I think. So I want to thank you for your wonderful and inspiring words that sheds the light on the community,
resurrection of truth from the chains of falsehood, as told by Dr. Joye Hardiman. Pick up your copy today at SeaStarDigitalNetwork.net/shop.